Hi friends, today we are going to see how we can create this awesome reveal effect using Elementor popup. Hi, this is Anand from designtheway.com. Excited to learn? Let's get right into it. So for a head start, I've already installed this beautiful digital agency template. In case you don't know how to import a template, I have a specific video for that. Click on the I button at the right top corner. I'm primarily using this template as it is. I haven't made any changes to it. For this page, I'm using a custom header. Let's quickly check the setting of that. Let's go to dashboard. Let's go to templates and theme builder. I'm using this header, digital agency header. Let's click on edit with Elementor. I'm using the digital agency header. It's a very simple header. I have a logo over here, then this menu, and the last item I've added a button. It has very simple settings, just has some hover effect, as does other buttons in this template has. I've assigned this header to the home page only. If you're interested in learning how to create a custom header and how to assign them to a particular page, you can watch this video linked at the top right corner. So what we are looking to achieve over here, once we click on this button, a pop-up will reveal from the top right corner containing a contact form and some details. In this video we are not going to waste too much time in creating stuffs. Primarily we will focus on creating that revealing effect. For this purpose I've already created the pop-up as well. So let's go to the dashboard. Let's click over here and click on dashboard. Let's go to template and click on pop-ups. This is the pop-up, full screen pop-up. Let's click on edit with Elementor. This is the pop-up I've created. I basically imported this section from the digital agency contact page template. Let's quickly check the settings of the pop-up. I've set the pop-up with 200 VW, which is 100% of the viewport, and set the height to fit to screen, so the pop-up will cover the entire screen. Set the content position to horizontal center and vertical center too, and for the time being I've kept overlay and close button on. We will close them. I'll show you why in a bit. And in the animation, entrance and exit, we have kept it to default because we do not want the pop-up to have its own animation. In the styles tab, we have set a basic background color, and in the advanced tab we have turned on prevent closing on overlay and escape key. We can add a class name to our pop-up. Let's name it contact pop-up. Let's update the page. We do not need to set any conditions, so click save and close. In case you want to learn how to set up a pop-up in more detail, I have a comprehensive video on creating a landing page and setting up a pop-up. You can check by clicking on the I button at the top right corner. So let's move on. Now let's get back to the header. Now we'll set the trigger on this button. Let's click over here. Let's click on dynamic and look for pop-up. Let's click over here, and now let's search for our pop-up. This is our pop-up, full screen pop-up. In the action trigger, it will only open the pop-up. Let's update the page. Now let's refresh the page to see how it works. Let's click over here. The pop-up is showing up. As you can see, there is no animation, and the close button is hidden up right up here. Let's click over here. In order to proceed further, we first need to understand how this pop-up is working, how it's showing in the DOM. In simple words, how it appears in the HTML. So right click over here and click on inspect. Okay, now let's open the pop-up. This is our pop-up. Now if I inspect this, this is our pop-up in the HTML. Let's collapse this. Now if you see the structure, it is the last item in our HTML. Everything is placed above it. Script, CSS, and rest of the page is placed above it. Let's open it again. The rest of the HTML is showing up here. Now let's see if I click on this close button, what happens. Let's click over here. Now as you can see, the primary container is over here, but rest of the item is not there anymore. Let's see it again. Let's click over here. Let's right click and click on inspect. As you can see, the HTML is back. This is the HTML for our pop-up. You have the text and the form, everything in HTML. Now again, if I click on this close button, everything disappears. So this is how this Elementor pop-up works. So we have seen how the Elementor pop-up works. Now we need to set things up accordingly. First, let's set the CSS for it. Let's close this first. First of all, we need to hide this pop-up. Not the way Elementor hides it, we need to do it in our own way. Let's close this pop-up. Let's click on customize. Now to hide this pop-up, we'll use the CSS clip path property. There's an article over here in CSS tricks where it shows what clip path is and how it works. Clip path basically works as a mask. As you can see in this image over here, the section specified will be visible, rest of the section will not be visible. Just like we use it in Photoshop or any image editing tool. I'll add this article link in the description below. Now let's get back to our page. Let's close this. Now let's click on additional CSS. Let's close this. First, let's open our pop-up. Let's click over here. It's right up here. Now we'll add a small CSS over here. Let's paste it. See, the pop-up is gone. What I'm using here, I'm using clip path circle. These three values are, first is the circle radius, and second two are the positions. Now for instance, if I change this 0% to say 50%, you can see some part of the pop-up is showing up. And if I set this value to say 0%, see the position changes from right to left. And if I set this to 100%, see how the position is getting affected. Since we want it at the right top corner, we will set this to 0 and this value to 100%, and this one to, and the radius to 0 as well. So the pop-up is not visible. In the class, I'm using the contact pop-up class as we named it as we named our pop-up. At the top, we are using the not selector. Basically, what does this mean? It means this CSS will not work if the body has this class. Why I'm using this? Because we are hiding the pop-up with CSS. Once we are in the editing mode, you will not be able to see the pop-up as well. So to prevent this, I'm using this class as exception. This CSS will not work if the body has this class, and essentially this class will be applicable once you are in the Elementor editing mode. So you can actually see the pop-up and edit it. Hope this part is clear. Next, I will add another small CSS. Let's paste it. What this CSS is doing, the top part is same. We're using the contact pop-up class, and now we're adding an open class. Once this open class is added to this contact pop-up, the clip path circle will be at 100%, so it will be visible. In the previous CSS, we have added a transition, so it will have a nice animation. Now the next step is to add this open class to this contact pop-up. For that, we need to use jQuery. Let's publish this CSS for now. Now let's get back to our dashboard. Let's select this and I'll open it over here. I'm keeping this customizer open because we need to work simultaneously on CSS and JS. Now to add our JS, I will add a plugin. Let's go to plugin and click on add new. Now I will search for this custom CSS. This custom CSS and JS plugin. Let's click on install. Let's click on activate. Now let's go to custom CSS and JS. Click on add custom JS. Now we'll name it as this custom JS. Let's capitalize this. I'll set the position to footer. I just forgot to add an ID to this button. Let's click this button. Let's go to advanced. I'll add an ID. Let's name it open button. Let's update the page. Now let's get back to our JS. Let's delete this. Now we'll add this small little script over here. What the script is saying, once we click on this open button, this open class will be added to this contact pop-up. Now let's hit publish. Let's view our page. Now let's check if the pop-up is working or not. Let's click over here. Okay, it's not working. Let's right click, click on inspect. Let's scroll down. This is the pop-up HTML, and this is our contact pop-up class, but the open class is not added. Okay, I will click again and let's see what happens. Okay, as you can see, the open class is added and the pop-up is showing. but we didn't get any animation. So we have a couple of problems. We need to add this open class at single click. Currently we need to click twice to add this class, and we need to have this animation. Now if you closely see the structure, let me refresh the page again. If I scroll down, as you can see, we do not have the HTML for the pop-up. Once we click, see the HTML is generated now. And what we are doing in our JS, we are telling once we click on this open button, this open class will be immediately added to this contact pop-up. But since the contact pop-up is not available at the time when we are clicking the button, we are not able to add this open class. So for that we need to add a delay. So we'll pick our JS a bit. Let's replace this with this JS. So what this JS is doing, once we click on this button, this open class will be added to this contact pop-up 100 milliseconds later. We are using the set timeout function. Let's update the JS. Let's close this. Now let's refresh it. Now if I click over here, as you can see, we have the revealing effect. Let's right click and open the inspect. Now if you see the HTML over here, we can see the pop-up, the contact pop-up has the open class. So I've solved one problem. The class is being added at single click and the pop-up is working. Now we have another thing to solve. If you click on this close button, it's not visible due to this admin bar. Okay, let's open this in a incognito window. Let's copy. Let's paste it over here. Let's click over here. It has a nice revealing effect. Let's close this. Now if I click over here again, we will not have the animation. Let's see what's happening. Let's right click and click on inspect. Sorry for going back and forth in code again, but we need to understand how this pop-up actually works. Then only then we can actually control it. This is the pop-up HTML. Now if I click on this close button, as you can see, as we saw earlier, the HTML actually disappears once we close this, once we close the pop-up. So once we close the pop-up, we actually need to remove this open class as well. We actually could have done that by adding a jQuery to this close button, But the problem is, if you see over here, the pop-up is actually placed as the last item in our HTML, and our custom script is right up here. Since our script is placed above the pop-up HTML, we actually cannot control the close button to remove this class. For that, we need to do some tweaking. Let's close this first. Let's get back to our editor. First of all, let's go to our pop-up. Let's go to settings. Let's turn off this close button first. And for safety, I will turn off overlay as well. Let's click on update. Click save and close. Now I will go back to my header. Over here, I will add another button. Let's drag it over here. Let's remove the text. Let's remove the link as well. Let's set the size to medium and the icon library. Let's search for close. I will use this icon. Let's insert it. Styles. Let's go to background color. Let's turn on the transparency. Let's increase the font size a bit. Let's set it to say 20. And in that advanced tab, I will add an ID. Let's name it as close button, close button. And custom positioning, let's set the width to inline and position to fixed. Let's align it to right. Let's say 10 pixel from right and 10 pixel from top. So this will be our close button. Let's update the page. Now let's get back to our CSS again. Let's refresh it first. So we can actually see the close button over here. Let's click on additional CSS. I will add a couple more CSS. See what I'm actually doing? I'm hiding the close button and then it will be visible once this visible class is added to this ID. We'll add this visible class through our JS again. If you're getting a bit confused, you can actually go back and watch the video again to understand it properly. Let's click on publish. Now let's get back to our JS again. Now here I will add this line of code. Now once we click on this open button, this open class will be added to contact popup class, and then this visible class will be added to this close button ID. Both will be 100 millisecond later. Now I will add another small script over here. Let's paste it. Now what I'm telling over here, once we click on this close button, we will remove this open class from contact popup, and then we will remove this visible class from this close button. Let's click on update. Let's get back to our incognito window. Let's refresh the page. Okay, the button is a bit out of place. Let's click over here. We have a nice animation, but the button is missing. Okay, I got it. Let's get back to our page. Let's go to our header. Actually, I forgot to set the Z index. Let's go to advanced and set the Z index to a much higher value. Now to fix the spacing of this button, let's right click, open the navigator. Let's select this button, go to advanced. I'll set the margin button to 0. Let's update. Let's get back to our incognito window. Let's refresh the page. Okay, the button is still not in position. Let's click over here. We have a nice revealing animation, but the close button is still not showing up. Okay, got it. What the issue is? Let's get back to our exam. We are using a very high Z index for this button, but if we select this section, let's go to motion effect. We are making this header sticky, but its Z index value is very low. That's why we cannot see the cross button over here. So to fix this issue, we actually need to add another section. Let's click over here, and I will add this button to this section. Let's drag it over here. Now let's update the page. Now let's check, let's refresh the page. The button is in position. Let's click over here. The close button is showing up. Let's click. Wow, it's reversing back. Since we are actually using this fixed header, we had to do this extra step, but it's working perfectly. Nice revealing effect, and it's closing off. And now, if you see the HTML, let's right click over here. Let's scroll down. Let's click over here. This is our pop-up. This is our pop-up HTML. If I click over here, we're actually just removing the class from here, but the HTML remains here. So basically we're keeping the pop-up, we are not removing it, we are just hiding it. In this way we can achieve this revealing effect and this reverse revealing effect as well. Now let's check if this works in responsive view or not, but before that I will add some CSS for this button in responsive view. Let's get back to our customizer. I will add this CSS. Let's publish it. Let's give a final check. Let's refresh the page. Let's click. It's working beautifully. It goes off nicely. Now let's check the responsive view. I've added a couple of media query to achieve this result. Let's click over here. It's working beautifully in mobile as well. Let's click. It's working nicely. Let's go to iPad. Let's click over here. It's working. It's working perfectly. So with the combination of some JS and CSS, we are able to create this awesome revealing effect using CSS clip path. You can download all the CSS and JS. I'll add the post link in the description below. One final note before we close this off, we can reveal any section using these tactics. You don't necessarily need to use elementor pop-up, but if you are planning to use it on any other section, you need to do a bit more tweaking in the CSS. I hope you have learned something new today. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks for your time. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.